And thanks for this very important hearing today, and thanks for our witnesses for being here. I have a very unique district. I know the members on this committee have heard me say it a lot of times, but I have 86,000 manufacturing jobs, largest in the state of Ohio. But I also have the largest farm income producing district in the state of Ohio. Agriculture runs deep in our area, and my mom's family, they settled family farms in the 1840s, and my mom was raised on the family farm, one of 7 kids. My wife comes from a family farm up in Williams County that was settled in 1835, and the family's still on it, and they've gone through good times and bad times like everyone else has. But one of the things that as I drive across my district and see what's going on out there, it's important because the crops are out there right now. In another month and a half, hopefully, that we're going to start seeing the production of taking off the crops. But Ms. Pryor, if I could ask you some questions, because again, when I read your testimony, it was very interesting and also hit home because prior to this hearing, I got a letter from a farmer in my district. And when I look at in your testimony, when you're talking about, your production costs and what's happened in the last several years, and you said, and since 2021, when we spent $57,000 for diesel and gasoline compared to 2023 when we spent $83,000. And, I'm looking at what they did, and they broke things down in this letter. But they're showing that in 2021, they had about $122,000 in fuel costs, and then they're projecting this year being at $180,000. And then their fertilizer costs are up from $580,000 to $900,000. And again, because a lot of people don't realize, sometimes when they think about oil and natural gas, they think that's the things we're powering things with or heating with, but not realizing what we're making out of those products for fertilizers. They're so important for our farmers. And if I could, just, when you look at what's happening for your farm, and I know you really pointed out in your written testimony, but when you look at your farm costs out there and the higher energy costs and peripheral costs, fertilizer, fuel and equipment, et cetera, how have you been, trying to manage that? Because again, you got to have a bottom line out there, and where do you see that bottom line heading? You saying that production is going to cost us more than we're going to be taking in.
This year we will have a negative, and the USDA projection, farming as a whole will have the second consecutive year of having a loss. But last year we broke even. This year we're not going to do that. We're going to have a loss. That scares me, but we tried to plan, and there's huge risk, and I think goes back to Farm Bill, and that helps relieve some of those risks that we take. And if we have some support to fall back on and plan on and be reliable, then it's easier to take those calculated risks. But with no fallback, it's much harder, because then you're looking at your prices that you can't control and weather that you can't control, and that's a lot of variables to make it even riskier. But we farm because we love it, and it is our livelihood, but it is also our life, and there's nothing else that we want to do. And so just to say, oh, well, it wasn't profitable, we're going to close and do something else, that's really not an option. And it's not, having the equipment and the ability to grow different crops, that takes time too. So we are constantly, for us, the processing market for apples is changing, and we know that, and we're not naive to that. And so we will look at other options and other types of apples and varieties that we can grow and set, but it takes planning. You're looking at 5 years from setting to your first harvest. So it's not something that we can just change overnight and this isn't working, we're going to switch.
Let me ask this. I only have about 38 seconds left of my time remaining. How do you plan, especially on energy costs, when you see the energy costs going up? How do you plan when you budget for the year for your farming? I'm sorry, I only got about 26 seconds left.
I would love to be able to budget. There is no budget, because how can there be? It's so variable, and we don't know what we're going to get paid for a crop until it's right at time to harvest it. So there's no way to. It would be great if we could have a better idea and some more security as to what things are going to cost, but there's no way. especially when you don't know what price you're going to get for your crop until it's time to harvest.
Well, I appreciate the witnesses for being here, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for having today's hearing, and my time has expired, and I yield back.